Zach here with Audio Studios. Today we're going to talk about compression and saturation and how to use them in your mix. So I'd like to start with addressing something that I've seen recently online. And now people have been ranting and raving about compression for years. That's not a secret. But I've seen people recently talking about using saturation in place of compression. And now while everything in the audio world is completely based on preference, what you like might not be what I like. But you can't just use saturation in place of compression where compression is actually needed. They have two different jobs, but they also have some similarities. Personally, I think they both should be used in most situations, especially with electronic music. But for this video, I'm just going to cover the basics of both tools and demonstrate how they work when applied to different sounds like bass, vocals, and synths. So this is a track that I've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and use this one to show you guys how to use these tools. Now let's give it a listen real quick. So there it is. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the sounds with compression and saturation put on them. I'm going to start with compression and then lead into saturation. We'll do a bass line and a vocal, or the vocal chop that I have, and also our lead. So compression controls the dynamic range of your sound. Finds the middle ground between the loudest parts and the quietest parts. It'll tame those loud peaks, and it can sometimes bring up the quietest part. Now in essence, it essentially evens out your sound and helps it to sit in the mix better. Now let's start with the UBK2. We're going to put that on bass sound first, and then we'll switch to the OTT compressor from transfer. So I've got everything already set up on one bus, so I'm just going to route the individual sounds to that bus so we can switch to the plugins more easily. So here's the UBK2, kind of what it looks like. Now let's go ahead and see what it sounds like with it off. There's that. Let's turn it on. Alright, so you got your high pass filter, makeup gain, attack, fast and slow, release, fast and slow. Then you got the different types of compression that they have. So you got snap, notch, crush, glue, splat, smooth, squish, and cream. I've got it already set up here a little bit. Now let's see what it sounds like when we change the different modes. So let's try glue. You can turn it down, mild to intensive. Using the knob in the middle here. Let's see what smooth sounds like. Squish. So that's the UBK2. Now let's switch to the OTT compressor by transfer. Now the OTT, you got your highs, mids, and lows. And at the top here, you got depth, time, your input gain, and your output gain. Then you can also turn the compression upwards or downwards here at the bottom. So here's what it sounds like with the OTT. sounds like with it off. And you can always just mess around with the different parameters, see what you like. Whatever sounds good to you. So that's how it sounds on bass. So now let's go over and switch to the vocal that I got going. And change up this here. When using compression, you're going to want to pay attention to the attack and release times. Those are going to change based on the sounds and the instruments that you're using. Parallel compression is a great tool for subtle changes, but just remember to not overcompress your sounds. It will squash the dynamics, it will ruin the transients. You just don't want that. I mean, unless that is what you're going for, then by all means crank up the compressor and go to town. Now let's take off the compression, add some saturation using the UBK. To start with. Now here's what it sounds like without saturation on it. Now with the UBK you have two saturation modules, one for the in, one for the out. Turn those up or down. Turn them on and off. You got the input gain and the output gain. You got your headroom for the input. You can turn it to trim or untrimmed. You got your bass, mids, and top. Frequency control for the saturation. Then when you have it on dirty mode for the out, you get saturation or saturation and compression mix. And then on clean, you just get a blend of dry and wet. So let's hear what it sounds like with some saturation on there. We'll just go with the in to start with. Got it on trimmed. Let's try it just out. Wet blend. Try it dirty. Try both now. So yeah, that's what it sounds like with the UBK. Now let's switch the saturation knob. Now SofTube makes a pretty good free saturation knob. You got your RMS limit is here. Your ins and outs. You got your gain matching, pre-fader metering. You can save different presets. And then this is the main saturation control knob. Then you can switch between high, neutral, and low saturation types. Let's see what it sounds like with that. Without it. So there you go. So here are the pros and cons of both compression and saturation. Compression will give you the very precise dynamic control. It'll keep your sounds consistent, gives them a place in the mix, and it'll maintain clarity of your sounds without adding a lot of color. However, it may also take away character from your sounds or your overall mix, and it will squash your transients and the rest of your sound if overused. Saturation brings warmth, character, color, and harmonic richness to your sounds or your overall mix. It will offer more transparent dynamic control in some cases, but however, it can add an unwanted distortion to your sounds or your mix if you crank it too much, and it's generally less precise than compression when it comes to dynamic control. So it's for these exact reasons that I like to use both when mixing and producing. I love having precise dynamic control and increasing clarity and presence, but I also love adding color, character, and warmth to my mixes. So this is why I absolutely love the UBK2, with 2 different saturation modules, one for the in and one for the out. There's virtually no limit on what you can do when combining saturation and compression inside the plugin. Remember, in the end, it's all about personal taste. It's about what you like, not anybody else. So play around with your plugins, find the vibe that you like, figure out what works best for you, and I promise your workflow will improve. So today we covered how saturation and compression work, what they can do to your sounds or your overall mix, and we also covered how they can become better together. I highly encourage any of you guys watching this to go out and experiment for yourselves, find the plugins you like best, find the vibe that fits you, and just play around. Now, thank you guys for watching this. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comment section under the video or send us a message at support@audiotstudios.com. I'll also leave that note.